Imagine me as a baby on the last day of my penultimate year of primary school. My childhood best friend brought in their Game Boy Advance with a funky new game on it, and it was The Sims Bustin' Out. They let me play on it for a short while and, well, I gave it back to them, of course. But this was my introduction to the Sims franchise. From the graphics to the funky music, the minigames and the quirky characters, I was instantly drawn into Sim Valley. I wanted to go to there. And all it took was this short micro blaster, the Sims universe, for me to become obsessed with it. I begged for the Sims Bustin' Out for Christmas for the PlayStation. Well, I got it, but I didn't get to play it because my brother has claimed the PS2 as his own. However, this led me down a path towards the Urbz for Game Boy Advance, which is the absolute pinnacle, god of all games. Although it wasn't until 10 years ago where I finally got my little grubby mitts on my own copy of The Sims Bustin' Out from eBay. And I played on it so much, on land, on sea, on train, but then I forgot about it for 10 years, until now. So in today's video, I'll be diving right into this cheerful world in Sim Valley and going through the goofy shit that's going on down there. The Sims Bustin' Out is the first title in the Sims handheld series and was the first game where we fully control our sim, rather than commanding them to do stuff. It was released in 2003 for Game Boy Advance and N-Gage. And look at that bad boy. Who won one of these? They look cool. You could propose with one of them. Will you get engaged to me? Anyway, developed by Kryptonite and published by EA, it serves as a prequel to the masterpiece that is the Urbz. So just a word of warning, if you don't want to be spoiled about this game, please stop watching as I will be spoiling it. Also, warning, this game does contain comic mischief, mild violence and suggestive themes. So, if you don't mind a garlicky kiss, let me transport you all back to 2003. As always, we start by creating our sim. And let's make our poo as true to life as possible. So the traits probably assist you in the game by helping you get along with other people easier. However, I've just gone and given myself a shed load of work by giving myself the weirdest traits ever. We receive a letter that reads, "Welcome to Sim Valley. Pooh, I am so excited to have you here for the summer. We may not be as big as SimCity TM, but we've got twice the character. Come see me as soon as you arrive. Uncle Hayseed." Now look at that, how lovely, and the details on the hands. Well, they're quite something. Nevertheless, Pooh is intrigued and we get dropped off by a mysterious vehicle full of hay outside our uncle's farm. We stomp our way towards our good old uncle and he asks us if we need any help with the controls. Of course not, we know this shit like the back of our hands. He wants a gift now, and I've got no money. Why does he want a gift? This dusty old photo album should do the trick. Sure, have it. I don't even know those people. Uncle Hayseed says we can have all this shite from his backyard and move it into the barn. Well, after all that work, I am knackered and need a nap. Uncle asks us to tweak the old tractor. He be tweaking, but I still need a cheeky after-dump nap. But Uncle greets us with the most revolting face. So you know what? Fine, Uncle, I'll do it. And look what happens. I end up getting electrocuted. That is what happens when we don't have our afternoon siesta. Now, after all that hard craft, can Pooh finally have a nap? No, dear Pooh, we have to mow the lawn. And not gonna lie though, this shit is great. It's like the shit mower game in The Sims 2 Game Boy Advance, but 1,000,000 times more funner. And I am bloody loving this. Oh, running over the rocks, malfunctioning. It takes me back. It takes me back to the time when I mowed the lawn in real life. I went over the wire and blew the fuse in the house. But I'm mowing today with no danger. And look at that, a big fat juicy promotion. And I am rolling in this wonga. We exclaim to our uncle, we've cut the grass. But he isn't happy. And honestly, you'd think I was living at this house for free with all the shite he's making me do. Now he wants us to get his chickens back as someone's let them loose, and then promises to make it worth our while. And I mean, that's a bit suggestive. What is it supposed to mean? I collected 6 chickens. I couldn't find the other 2, but I heard some strange clucking from my barn home. Well, they were in my home, but it turns out those were just the ambient sounds of my pre-barn barn conversion barn home. Then I run into our old friend, Detective Dan D. Man, and he's looking rather chiseled as opposed to his plumpness in the herbs. Since he's looking awfully handsome, I ask him for a kiss for good luck. And I'm met with the old not on duty miss. Oh, that old chestnut, eh? He tells us that the Velocirooster was the culprit for our uncle's chickens being let loose. This bastard chicken, he'd be causing me hell in my life in Sim Valley, making me pass out, chasing after me and stuff. What made finding the chickens worthwhile, I hear you ask? Old Hayseed basically tells us that we can't use his shower anymore and we have to buy our own. And we do buy our own, but it ultimately gets stolen anyway and we just go back to using his, so you just can't get the staff these days. I do want to improve my relationship with Uncle though. He's family after all. I compliment him, tell him he'd look great chewing wheat. We gossip for a while, and then I make the mistake of hugging the fella. And now there's love hearts in the background. Well, that is enough of that for today. Goodbye, Uncle. Stroll around town, meet the locals, some politician, a cowgirl, Dusty Hog, and Giuseppe, my man. You know, I've always wanted to kiss a convict. And you know, I do be making an impression. New girl in town, kissing everyone I can. I politely ask Dusty Hog to please move his comically placed bikes as I want to get to the rest of town. I try to befriend the bloke, and he knocks me out, beaten to a pulp. I've never experienced rejection on this level before. I awake in my uncle's house. I have a shower and recollect myself. What the heck has just happened? What did I do wrong? I did not deserve this. I try to reconcile with him. I'm only trying to do this to get him to move these godforsaken bikes, and he punches me again. I can't remember this happening when I played this game last time. What the hell, Dusty? I give him a bit of time, you know, to mull it over, and eventually we become buds. But I'm not gonna lie, I'll be keeping this bloke at arm's length from now on. He's got a few more errands that he wants me to run, like pulling pints in the local pub, which consists of us sliding milkshakes and beers down the bar to the old punters. Dusty eventually gets his mates to move their bikes, and now we've finally got access to the rest of the beautiful Sim Valley. And what a delightful place. Uncle's got other ideas though. He wants us out of the barn so he can use it as an Airbnb. We are supposed to be family, and times like these, you just need friends. And you know what? We can always rely on Giuseppe. He helps us back onto our feet when our so-called uncle kicks us to the curb. Giuseppe, an ode to you. I adore you like you do with your tiramisu. You be like, hey, dobba de gia, and I'd be like, hey, do you want a pint of beer? With your dashing good looks and your handsome, rugged face, thank you for helping me to move into my new place. So with the next couple of things we have to do is impress ringleaders of certain cliques. So we woo the local fisherman, Oh Phil McLean. And what does the O stand for in Oh Phil McLean? Impress that Eddie Renelin, the town's bodybuilder, and he did not skip leg day, schmoozing all the locals while simultaneously avoiding the Velocirooster and successfully knowing how to use the toilet. And having a little play in the sand, I finally unlock the 2 jobs, fishing and powerlifting. Our next task includes helping, well, this just delightful woman, Hester Prim, reopen the library which has been closed. And I guess it's been closed due to the infestation of bookworms. Honestly, I swear, what is with all these games, including killing of bugs? Once we've exterminated the infestation by stomping on the little guys and collecting the overdue books from the locals, I guess that's all we need to reopen this kingdom of knowledge. After begging Maximilian Moore to get his permission to reopen Club Rub,
oh please let me pay back all your taxes.
and damn well, You look different. Anyway, we pay the taxes back to Detective Dan and we reopen the joint. I do be waiting for Club Rub to open and evil Guy Fieri be like, Deep Dark Secrets is the game of our next goals. Our boy Giuseppe tells us about some blueprints that will give us some access to the sewers. Apparently they're in the basement of the clock tower and all we need is a crowbar to access it. Well, whatever you say, my man. Let me get that crowbar from my good-for-nothing uncle right away. Anything for you. But you know what? Thank God for these sewers. I might stink of shite, but I can get around Sim Valley way easier. This is even more easier than my little scooter. I love it down here. There's 3-eared mice, nuclear rods that I can sell to some wacky dude in the labs. And there's also this button I can press in the sewers and it takes me to a weird room with Marty Crane's reclining chairs. And I mean, you can take the chairs if you want. But you know what? It seems very nice to have a little secret room all to myself within the sewers. Well, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty content at the moment. Mowing uncle's lawns, sliding drinks, fishing, and hiding out in my secret man cave in the sewers. What more could a man ask for? Well, Nicky Knack, the owner of Nicky Knack's Bric-a-Brac, has other ideas. She wants us to move into her waterside villa. And I didn't really want to, and she's making me pay for it too, but I guess that's what being on the property ladder is. I reluctantly hand Nicky Knack my hard-earned 3-eared mice money and move into my new place. And you know what? It ain't too shabby. Considering how well that lady looks, she do be keeping a nice house. So never judge a book by its cover. And that's what they say in it. We have a basement, 2 other floors, and a garden with a waterfall. And you know what? My lovely fly-infested fridge has come with me. Look at me now, hayseed. In the next chapter of our life, the first set of tasks come from the local poet Claire Clutterbell. She tells us she's the Princess of Darkness, but also about this weird haunted shack that we can access through the sewers, which is haunted by a ghost. We should answer the ghost's silly riddles. Well, that sounds right up my alley. Let's bloody go then. We pick the lock and enter, and who else but an old phantom friend, Ephraim Earl. Good to see you, mate, but I'm not gonna lie, you look a little bit worse for wear than when I've seen you in the future. I naturally ask him if I can have all of his furniture from his house because, you know, he's dead. And surprisingly, he says yeah. Well, anyway, I answer his silly little riddles, which include various dad jokes, like how many sides does a circle have, and how many letters in the phrase the alphabet, but doesn't say the phrase. Once we've done that, we ask our newfound dead mate if he knows anywhere a band can jam or where we can buy a cool guitar from. Sadly, he doesn't know. Ephraim, however, tells us about a secret trapdoor and lets us have all his treasured possessions from his life. A sarcophagus, a suit of armour, a Venus flytrap, which eats us, and that's just to name a few. What an interesting bloke. The next tasks include us gaining popularity with yet more cliques of Sim Valley to get access to the new jobs. The first one is Rockstar, which includes us begging our recently estranged uncle to stop doing his Airbnb in the barn so my new band can practice in there. I become mates with Vera Vex and dodgily buy my guitar from Giuseppe's van. Once all that's in order, we are a proper rock star and now we can play Guitar Hero. Ugh, Lottie Cash? I'm sorry, I'm repulsed. She truly does look like an NPC. Not the Richie blonde-haired Gwen Stefani that I knew from the Urbz. Anyway, enough moaning. We befriend the town's renowned Michelin star chef, Chet R. Chase. And things are going very, very well. We ask him if he wouldn't mind a garlicky kiss. One thing leads to another and now he can make pizzas. And I can't believe this is how pizza is made. It's so insane, and then we're blessed that people make it for us. Next up, we become the champion of the Simverse, and I finally catch that godforsaken Velocirooster. Beat up Mad Willie hurts you, which is ever so satisfying, and apologies, but he deserves it. We also ride the mechanical bull for the longest time ever, and slay the giggles we're having, yeehaw bitch. We all know what happens next. As soon as I'm having a bit of fun, I'm living my life, it always means that some shit is about to hit the fan. In the grand scheme of things, I am content with my new life in Sims Valley. but Daddy Big Bucks wants us to move into the mansion. And I'm not gonna lie, this forced moving I am not enjoying. But you know what? I cough up the 10 grand because for Daddy Big Bucks I am a softie. But in my opinion, the villa was so much more prettier. In the next phase of our adventure, we have to piss people off. Misty Waters and Phil McLean. It's just so hard making people hate you when you're just so lovable. But I guess I should have thought about how much I could make them hate me in one go, because now the old boy won't speak to me until I've slept on it. I'll eventually get him to drop out the election. Now I can finally become the mayor. Or does that Nora want to become the mayor? I just don't know anymore. I also pissed Misty Waters off enough in between plays in the sand. So now we can go cliff diving and or belly flop from a dangerous height. Next, it's time for us to become a mad scientist in the Mad Scientist Funky Time Sad Time Mad Scientist Mad Time Funky Lab. We get a big fat grant from our now sugar daddy, and we have to make a significant scientific discovery. And where can I do that in this absolutely normal town? Well, of course, in our absolutely normal uncle's barn. In the Airbnb come ex-home come band practice room come absolutely normal barn, there is a secret basement, and well, down there's just a run-of-the-mill stereotypical rocket hidden away. Who is Uncle Hayseed? Listen mate. I approach him and say, listen mate, why was there a rocket beneath the barn? Bloody Hayseed be making all these excuses. Maybe it was from the previous owners or something. You know something. You do. Fine. I will take that information with a pinch of salt. Now we're on to the penultimate task where we apprehend the van man. And who is the van man? The van man is our Giuseppe. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. I'm sorry, I don't want to send my boy away. I don't wanna. I popped to Uncle Hayseed's for my biannual shower, since mine got stolen. We enter his house and a dramatic yelp of desperation. We pan onto Giuseppe, who's stealing my favourite bed and putting it into his crate of goodies. Then we pan onto Uncle Hayseed, who's tied up and yells again. And then the camera then pans to a guillotine. What was Giuseppe going to do to my uncle? But I'm not gonna lie, I am in two minds about helping this so-called uncle of mine, since he kicked me out. I reluctantly take the picture of Giuseppe and he's sent to prison for the foreseeable. But I will come visit you, I promise. Riddled with guilt, the summer's end, and well, here we are. What a summer. We have been promoted as the maddest of all mad scientists, and we're the most popular bitch around. And we have to put our rocket in the mansion, but I'm not sure where. I've heard there's a helicopter pad we put it on and it's in the garden, but I didn't realise that I had a garden until I had to put the rocket outside. Anyway, we plonk it down. Now all that's left is to talk to our uncle. He's already in our mansion, whittling away. We chat to him about our time spent in Sim Valley, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a bit sentimental. Then Uncle tells me it's time for me to leave Sim Valley. But we don't want to leave. We've made this our home. Then he explains the truth, that this never was our home, and Uncle Hayseed found us in a field years ago. My whole life is a lie. Is my name even Pooh? What is real? He's now telling us we have to get into the rocket. I'm an alien? We proceed into the mansion's gardens, surrounded by the townsfolk we've come to love and cherish as if they were our own family. We reluctantly clamber into the rocket. It ascends into the sky after shortly falling back to earth. We giggle and jest. Oh, that's just bloody typical, isn't it? Being ousted by the xenophobic townsfolk only for it to fail. You gotta laugh, otherwise you'll cry. And I guess that's that. The mini-games are what are called jobs in the game, and the higher we are promoted to, the more difficult they get. The first job is Mower Madness, where we have to mow as many weeds as possible while avoiding rocks and flowers. The next job is Smoothie Slider, where we slide pints and milkshakes. Are we orange for the lady? To the patrons of the bar. We get more money when we send the drinks to the furthest person away. And I guess Dusty Hog is like Yoshi. Who is your favourite variation of hog? Mine's gotta be the original. However, I am partial to a purple hog. Powerlifting is what it says on the tin. You power and lift. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually couldn't be bothered working out how to play it as I wanted to mow more lawns. Baitfinger is like a gentle, relaxing fishing sim. And you know what? It ain't too shabby, but I saw that when you get to level 5, you can catch a shark, and well, that is terrifying. Jam Sessions is Guitar Hero, and we get to play a duet with our favourite gothic princess, Vera Vex. My dreams are all coming true. Pizza Pandemonium. It sounds like a Kung Fu Panda reference. Well, here we can fulfill our dreams of being a pizza. I just can't believe how pizza is actually made. It's so difficult. I'm surprised I've managed to have one in my life. Anyway, apparently the floaty things at the bottom are anchovies and not fluff or dirt. The patrons of Sim Valley hate them. Now, I know anchovies are an acquired taste, but I can't help but judge them. Cliff Diver X is where we dive off a cliff and either belly flop from a dangerous height or break our necks on the seabed from a dangerous height. And I guess the choice is yours. The final minigame is Petri Dish, add science and do stuff with microscope things. And I like this game, it's fun, it's colourful, it's got a funky beat to go with it, and hear me out, why is the green one kinda... Funny fact number 1! There's a Fortnite skin released on the 6th of March called Hayseed, which looks an awful lot like a familiar uncle, or should I say fake uncle. This could be just a coinky dink or a busting out reference. So the N-Gage version, there are some differences. So the kind of main difference is that the N-Gage version includes a minigame, Darts, which wasn't present in the original Game Boy Advance version. Despite the fact that the game was intended to be in both versions, developers of the N-Gage version found the half-completed code, which was disabled in the Game Boy Advance version due to it being incomplete, and they revamped it and finished it. Also, in the N-Gage version, a Nokia phone is present where the player can flex like several SIM cards scattered throughout the city, and it unlocks various minigames. I couldn't find exactly where this was referenced in the game, but whilst researching I found this. This game doesn't take itself too seriously either. The dialogue is full of jokes, references to the game itself, going as far as referencing the limited space on the cartridge. Additionally, through my research, I did come across a theory on Reddit by user Mr. PokeGamer, which I did find really interesting. I have no idea what else to call it, so I'll call it the Sim Valley theory. This theory will explore what happened to the characters between the 1 year time gap. So we can assume such characters like Dusty Hog, Old Salty, Dashel Swank come and go from Sim Valley. But why did only the policeman, Detective Dan, and the only doctor, Max, leave Sim Valley? Why did Ephraim Earl leave his house and now haunts a random crypt? Some of this is hinted at in the Urbz dialogue, and some of it's just pure speculation. Lottie Cash in the Urbz states that her parents took away her inheritance. Remember, she bought the pizza place in Sim Valley. Without any extra cash to pay for the pizza place, it had to shut down. This is why Chet R. Chase now runs the pizza place in Urbania. Lottie Cash is now the robber who tries to steal your furniture. We can understand why Misty Waters left the valley. One of the last missions in Bustin Out is to get her friendship level to -50. Why would she want to be a part of a town where nobody likes her? In the final mission of Chapter 3 in Bustin Out, Nicky Knack asks you to stay in her waterfront villa in hopes it will raise sales for her bric-a-brac shop. This obviously failed since the cashier, Phoebe Twiddle, now resides in Urbania, owning a new store. Okay, so what happened to the others? My theory is that Nora Zealot ruined Sim Valley. Hear me out. Nora is a politician. In one of the last missions in Bustin Out, Nora tells you to campaign for mayor, but she makes you assault the rival candidate, Phil McLean. You leave the valley before the election takes place. Nora made you eliminate the competition, making sure she becomes the next mayor. She now starts demolishing what you've done during the summer, closes down Club Rub, closes the country cafe, and demolishes the statue you built of yourself. She destroys the image you made of yourself, making almost everyone forget who you are. Detective Dan, ashamed of what his niece has become, leaves Sim Valley, taking Giuseppe with him as a sidekick, hoping he will start a new leaf. Daddy Big Bucks, who invested heavily into Sim Valley, remembers that you helped Nora get into that position, which is why he hates the player in the Urbz. He's the only one who remembers. This is why he goes mad in the Urbz. He was a sweet rich dude in Bustin Out. Since Bucky Brock's country cafe was shut down, she is now running Minigame at the carnival. Nora also probably demolished Earl's house or hired some priest to exorcise him to the crypt in Minneapolis. Grandma Hattie and the other characters talk about how polluted the river is. We see three-eyed frogs and the return of nuclear rods. Sim Valley is located upstream from Minneapolis. What is in Sim Valley? Virtue Chem Labs, the labs that released the Velocirooster and the three-eyed mice. All the waste from Virtue Chem flows downstream and mutates the wildlife. Lastly, let's talk about Splicer Island, the DS exclusive mission in the Urbz. This mission helps you start up an island where you create mutated creatures, domestic and not. Sound familiar? You help start up another Virtue Chem Labs. And who is the main lab assistant of Splicer Island? The same lady who ran Virtue Chem. And they say, well, not for sure, but they look similar. I don't know, what do you think? That gives us a lot of food for thought, wouldn't you agree? You also need to establish a Game Boy Advance link cable, so you need to connect to another player with the game if you want to get to Paradise Island, and that's where Daddy Big Buck spends most of his time tanning. As always, no matter what, even when I hate these games, I still enjoy them. However, this isn't the case with The Sims Bustin Out. I bloody love it. And I'm not going to be super critical because I do have my rose tinted glasses on, because this game was the blueprint for the absolute masterpiece, which is the Urbz Game Boy Advance. The character portraits are realistic in a kind of uncanny valley way, particularly Hester Prim. We all know someone who looks like her. And for me, there's not enough variety in the voices for characters. I'd like Nicky Nack to have a Mambo Loa type voice, because without that, the old lady from Nicky Nack's Bric-a-Brac character is kind of lost, and she's kind of got the same voice as any of the other girls in the game. There's also a large variety of the NPC sprites that we can see around town. For example, Daddy Big Bucks, the detective, Giuseppe. You know who they are before you talk to them because they look like them. But characters like Nora, Lottie Cash, Melodious, and Dwayne Doldrum, in my opinion, they're all kind of forgettable because they all look the same when you're running through the town. But what I do like about these sprites is that we see them sit on the couches, dance, they cook when they're on the docks, and it doesn't make them seem like they are really just going about the day. The conversation options are also quite limited, but it's not too much of a problem because I'm just happy to see the dialogue rather than some gesture competition like in some other games. Although the ending is slightly disappointing, like, oh, guess what, you're an alien, and Emperor xxxxxxx is your mate type shit. In a way, this spaceship's hurtling back to Earth and our character leaving with that haunting laugh. It's like our sim is so self-aware, and it's just so silly. But one thing I've got to say is really annoying, that once you completed the story, that's all there is to do. Especially because I didn't save my game. But for me, this game, it holds a special place in my heart. Of absolutely perfectly classic Simity games. We've got funny characters, revealing the origin of the recurring Sims, Misty Waters, Dusty Hog, and our favourite, Giuseppe. Although I do think it's weird that they chose Misty Waters to be in all of these games. There were so many more intriguing characters to have back. What about the cowgirl instead of just a cameo in the Urbz? But I guess that's another story for another day. Overall, it's just a wacky story about how you can get to the top with a little bit of hard work, flirting, friendship, and selling 3-eared mice. I will forever preach about these Game Boy Advance games because they really do have the best soundtrack, particularly the Country Cafe one, Yeehaw Bitch, my holy trinity of sim games. I'd definitely play this game again. I've played it so many times over the years, and I want everyone in the world to play this game. It just hits different, takes me right back to them good old days. Well, I have completely busted out, and that's it. I've spoken about my holy trinity of Sims Game Boy Advance games, and I'm feeling a little sentimental. I could have spoken way more about all of these games, particularly the Urbz, and I guess I allowed myself to get carried away with this particular game, and the spirit of Pooh took over. But do not fret, my friends. I have lots of videos on my to-do list as I am having an absolute ball. Let me know if you think I dived deep enough into the old Bustin out, or is there more to Sim Valley? Did you have an N-Gage? Have you played this game, or any of the Sims Game Boy Advance games? Let me know in the comments. What's that voice? Also, thank you everyone for at the time of recording, 600 subscribers. I'm baffled and I'm lost for words. I appreciate every single one of you, and I guess you all love the Sims spin-offs and or ports just as much as me. So thank you all for your lovely comments, experiences, words of encouragement and critiques. I also just want to say thanks for all the tips and stuff in the comments. I really do appreciate the help, and I do think I'm improving. And I really do hope that you can all hear me now. Come on, England! Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, see you later, lads.